Hey guys, it's Matt. I made a video showing you this stuff from my grandfather who died in 1996, years ago. But we've learned a little bit about ourselves and about reality right over the last few years. So remember my new mantra. I'm going to keep this stuff forever with me by throwing it out. I'm going to keep it forever with me by throwing it out this week. And you know what I mean by that if you remember the last few videos where I talked about it. My grandfather worked for U.S. Steel. Can you see that? Yeah. U.S. Steel Corporation. This is like a time travel trip back into the old world. The classic worked for one company, 37 to 39 to 40 years, something like that, maybe just under 40. Maybe pensions started at 35 and retire. You know, relatively young, 62 or 63, and you get a moderate but pension enough to cover your living expenses. And you know, the old world was a different reality, in my opinion. It was a different reality. So I've had this with me. My grandfather and my grandmother died 12 days apart in 1996. I've had this with me for almost 30 years. It's long enough. And my dad wasn't, when they died, my dad didn't go up for weeks. A lot of the family went in and took things, and to me, they left the most important thing. They left this. Maybe I'll show you the great book collections or the works of Shakespeare that my grandfather left that I also took. But, you know, for some reason they left this. To me, this was the most important stuff. But 30 years is enough. I'm going to keep it with me forever by throwing it out. You know, remember, if you ever seen the About Schmidt movie, that is the ultimate depressing movie about the retirement dinner. Got the quote, end quote, gold watch at the retirement dinner, which is just cheap. I mean, you know, today this would be worth, it's just light, you know, $200 or something. It's just a cheap Gruen. I don't even know if that company's still in business. And there's no gold. There's no gold whatsoever to speak of, but retirement dinner where he got the watch, just like you heard about in the storybooks, just like, you know, just like they said it was in the old century. And I'm going to keep this with me by throwing it out, because most people, it's what the thing to do is just let it sit up in the closet and never truly I don't like the word, but celebrate it. Never truly celebrate it. I've kept it out for 2 weeks. I'm going to make a video talking about the elements of the old world, and I'm going to throw it out. And that's how I'm going to keep it with me. Oh boy, every other day I have to put out one of these blood suckers. Oh, I got you trapped. I'm going to put them out. That's what this is for. That's what this cardboard's for. I'm going to put him out. Look at that blood sucker. He knows. He thinks I'm going to get him. Look at the size of that. Can you imagine that thing sucking on you at night? I put him out. You know what? He probably comes right back in. He probably comes right back in. Sorry for the flashlight, guys, but there's no good light in here. The world's greatest thinkers. These are some of the books that I was also able to take when we went up there to Lancaster, East Petersburg, and to see if I wanted any of my grandfather's stuff. I showed you I took that, and I took these great works or great books that he was always very interested in. And have you read most of these? Utopia, Matt, by Thomas More? Nope, I haven't. Some of these I have, but certainly should and will. Bill sent me a recent poster, thank you, Bill, that is actually fitting for the first part of what we're going to talk about. I've told you many times when I talk with Greg, we wouldn't change our age for the world. 55, I think Greg just turned 57. Am I 55 yet? I don't even know. Not yet. I'll be 55 coming up in a few months. We have a foothold in both worlds. It's fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And if you're in your early 40s, you have a decent foothold into the old reality too. And I'm sorry, you don't if you're in your 20s or 30s. We would not go back in time. I would not want to be 25 or 30 again. It's just we've seen the old world and experienced it. and can step back and see the difference, the major differences in reality itself. It's not just, Matt, you throw these terms out in change in reality itself. It's just a slow evolution, and I agree, a devolution of culture and society, and things are getting, but it's not, yeah, it is. It is to me. And I'm not going to get into it here. A major demarcation day was the gigantic ritual when the job application was submitted to the 7-Eleven in September to get the convenience store job in 2001. Wasn't just that, but that was a turbo boost times a million on steroids to the trillionth power. It's a different reality. So back to my grandfather and his stuff, and me remembering the old world, and you, if you're over age 45. You worked for one company. I mean, your whole life. Okay, you might every once in a while one or two changes over 30 some years. Many people work for the same company. If you were born when my grandfather was in, I believe, 1912, it's just normal. Went to night school, went back, got a college education, working night school. Maybe he was in some sort of internship or lower level program at U.S. Steel or even manual labor. I wish I would have asked him all these questions. I was 26 when he died in 1996, and obviously I didn't care. Didn't care to ask the questions that I would like to ask now. I'm sure you would like to ask all your old relatives. Here we go. Youth is wasted. Youth is wasted on the young. Of course it is. It's the greatest phrase of all time. I would have loved to have asked him. I don't know these answers. I guess I'll ask my father, but he might not know. Anyway, night school. Then that led him into a more managerial, and it was still like field work. He was responsible for doing huge fence projects around the oil refineries down in South Philadelphia and things like that. But he had, a whole crew was working for him. He was doing more of the on-site field engineering, but more on the white-collar side of U.S. Steel. Had to wear a suit and tie once every few weeks, not every day because he was on site, that sort of thing. So the point is, back in the day, and Notnilc has always been here, guys. It just has different forms and different tools and different permutations and manifestations. His entire life, his whole identity became the job. And of course, it was his status. It was everything. But when he retired, okay, it's just, you hear, even back then, they hear how great retirement is. And they sold everybody that bill of goods. And he didn't seem that old, I don't believe, when he retired. Maybe he was in his mid-60s. I'm not sure. And it was looking back now, it's clear that he just lost his identity, like the About Schmidt movie. He didn't know what to do. And he started moving around. He moved up to Morgantown, Pennsylvania, which is very close to Lancaster. And there's Amish communities. And I remember as a kid, many Amish, not every weekend, but Amish would come and go from my grandmother's house for whatever reason from time to time. And she had Amish contacts. I remember I told you this story before. The one, it was so kind of horrifying to me. I'll never forget as a young kid, maybe I was just 7 or 8, the Amish woman had ringworm. It was this gigantic ring on her wrist. And, they treat it with whatever herbal. They don't use antifungal that you could get in any drugstore. So it had gotten real big, this ringworm. And I asked later my grandmother, "What's that? What was that on her wrist?" And they said, "The ringworm. They won't get an antifungal from." Back then it was Rite Aid. I guess it was Rite Aid's. No, Rite Aid is always flirting on going out of business. Is it finally out of business? But they didn't got no CVS back then. Anyway, so he moved to Morgantown. But that wasn't. He didn't like. I was going to do a little gardening and farming, and had a decent amount of acreage on this. The house was pretty small, but back in '76, Morgantown had a decent, I don't know, like 10 acres or something. But that didn't suit him. Then moved down to Ocean City, New Jersey, which has always been the place to go for my family. And that romanticizing of Ocean City, you move down there, you go down there, it's like, this is not what I remember as a kid. There's no romanticism if you live down here full time, and 2 or 3 or 4 years there, and moved to it. He just kept moving around and trying to find his place. And now that the job was gone, and I think I remember telling you guys about this, was a very, to me, I'm much more like my grandfather than my father. Much of, they say, it does, in many cases, some of it skips a generation. I have many traits of my grandfather, who was a very spiritual person. And I have told you this many times, so I'll be brief. Spiritualism, we're more than this place. And, well, there's no internet back then. What do you do? Well, he just found the Catholic Church. He says, well, this if I'm spiritual and I'm getting into my old age and thinking and worrying about death and the sorts of, he was a big thinker, like I showed you the books that he was reading, and he listened to classical music. He just figured, well, I have to do what everybody does. I just have to find religion. I have to get closer to the church. And he just looked around the whole family. This is the northeast of northeast Pennsylvania, but northeast all the way from Maine down to Washington, D.C. is mostly Catholic. Catholic and Catholicism dominates the northeast of the United States. He said, well, my whole family from Philadelphia, South Philadelphia, etc., is 90% Catholic. So that's what I should do, right? He started going to the Catholic Church. He just thought, I'm sure, if I want to be spiritual, this is what I need to do. This is what the world provides. No internet, no ability to really explore alternate positions. This is, I'm not saying this right, but didn't think to take up, if he took one class on alternative religions or, comparative religion classes, even if it was some useless thing that they offer in high school and college. Everybody has to take a comparative religion class, and you get out of the class at Penn State or whatever, you say, I didn't learn shit. What the hell was that for? But at least, you know what I think of Catholicism. We'll just leave it at that. That to me that's very separate, very different from. There's a lot of Christians here at this channel. I do know of one Catholic I don't understand, but okay, whatever. But most of the Christians here, 99%, are not Catholic. I have major issues with the whole multi-billion-dollar presentation and the Pope, and we'll leave that. We'll leave that for another video. But that's what he did. And was he fulfilled? In my opinion, knowing I'm so close to my grandfather, so similar, absolutely not. But just, this is what I need to be doing, going through the motions. I guess I'll wrap this segment up because it's certainly not coming out properly, but I think you know what I mean. The internet and the weaponization of the internet has led to a whole new reality and a whole new level of morons on the ship of fools. But it's been tremendously useful to us and people like us to share different ideas. Think, where would you be if it was 1975? Would you just happen to find that little Buddhist teacher down the street that would, maybe you wouldn't become a Buddhist, but would get you thinking differently from what your entire family had been doing, or the church that they've been going to, or the big Catholic cathedral they've been going to their entire lives? The alternate viewpoints we're able to share using the internet has been, it has been weaponized, and it is the Notnilc's greatest tool, but we wouldn't trade it for anything in terms of how we've been able to share information amongst ourselves. Mommy, oh, hi, Ronnie, how was school? Mommy, do we have magenta status yet? We have T-Mobile. No, Ronnie, we don't have magenta status. But everybody else at school has the magenta status. It's starting to get embarrassing for me. We don't use our cell phones as much as the others, Ronnie. I'm not going to school if we don't have magenta status. This is embarrassing for me. I hate you. Sitting here for a few minutes thinking it's all starting to come back to me, or many details that I had forgotten. So it says the early American steel industry, 1901 to 1950. My grandfather would have started mid-30s with U.S. Steel, late 30s, and he was a middle-level manager for what was called, it just came back to me, the Cyclone Fence Division. And, U.S. Steel, as was the case, they did everything from creating the steel in the foundries, source the raw material, to the final products, the delivery of the steel right to the job site, and everything in between. And it was the fencing, the endless fencing projects that my grandfather was involved in. Let's take a trip back through time and visit my grandfather in his office. He was out in the field most of the time, and they all had an office as well. And here I'm coming in at my current age, and he doesn't know me. He doesn't know we're related. I'm even much older than him now, kind of like Kevin Costner visiting Doc Graham. I said, see everything around you, this gigantic company, this, at the time they would say this is the greatest American company, U.S. Steel. He was so proud of what he did. Everything will be gone. Everything will be gone. I know it probably exists, some corporate name called U.S. Steel that the Japanese owned for a while. They traded it to the Chinese, who traded it to the Vietnamese. I'm sure it exists in some form. I'm not going to go research U.S. Steel or what's left of it. Of course, it's all dismantled and all effed up. I said, grandfather, I called him granddad, see that this is all going to be gone. All of it, just in name only, all gone. And you're looking forward to your pension, right, Granddad? Well, yeah, we all get pensions. Well, that'll be gone. Anybody that works under the name of there's no pension, there's no health care for most of you in the future. Let me tell you about the future. First, the Japanese are going to take over the entire steel industry by just low price dumping. Dump, put everybody out of business, then take everybody over for pennies on the dollar. And the Chinese will do it the Japanese. The Japanese thought at one point they put their feet up on the desk and said nobody can do it more efficiently and at a better cost than us. Then the Chinese came along because they were selected by the one world system, but we'll talk about that some other time. And the Chinese did it. I mean, the Japanese businessmen, they're all put out of business. They're probably not sitting at the creepy table. They don't know it's part of a 100-year script. They wouldn't have any idea what I'm talking about. I said, Notnilc did this. What did you do? No, I can't. I'm not. Was that an attempt at a Japanese? What did you say? Notnilc did all this to you. The Chinese are going to come along and dump their shit just like you did the Americans. Anyway, y'all out of business. Y'all effed. And, whatever, my grandfather would never believe it. This gigantic behemoth, this pillar of American industry, U.S. Steel, will never go away by these foreign companies. And remember, he had at least, one child had been born during World War II. My father was being born. Then there was one more. Japanese quality goods for 10 years after World War II were considered an absolute joke. I mean, nobody thought there was any quality in Japanese goods, and it started with the cameras, right? Probably in the early 50s, and these cameras are actually good and they're superior, and they didn't have any reputation for quality in anything until the early 60s, and they started to take over the auto industry, all part of the one world system plans. But should not keep saying that. Not here to do a sidebar on that right now. Most of you see it. We'll talk about it some other time. But he would say, because again, the quality of Japanese goods, we visited my grandfather, would say, the Japanese, they make little straws that go and buy pina colada. They don't do shit. They're still rebuilding from Nagasaki, Hiroshima, whatever it's called. They're not going to be able to take over this behemoth, this pillar of American industry. Look around you, son. And again, remember, he doesn't know who I am at this point. He doesn't know I'm his grandson standing in his office. Look at this. Look around you. Look at the infrastructure here. We source the raw materials and we deliver to the customer. We do everything in between. These idiots over there in that Okinawa effing island, they're not going to be able to. He had no idea what was coming. He wouldn't believe me. He'd kick my broke ass out of his office. Where I am in southeastern Pennsylvania, outside Philadelphia, the most famous relic of the old steel industry is Bethlehem Steel in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Its famous factory, of which I think it still stands. That relic, boy, it would be interesting to go see it. I don't know if they do tours or, again, what a coincidence. I just looked up when they filed for bankruptcy. 2001. Everything happened in 2000. That was the start. 2001 September. That was the start of the new century. It wasn't January 1. That's a lie. Yeah, we'll talk about that some other time. Filed for bankruptcy, probably on the same day in September. Just probably not, but filed for bankruptcy in 2001. We could do the same time travel trip. Go back in the mid to late 60s and say, oh, you're a great factory here and you just dominate southeastern Pennsylvania, the whole Northeast with your steel factory. This will all be gone. Y'all be out of work. Holy, but who's this guy ranting and raving saying he's from the future? How are we going to be gone? Who's going to be able to replicate what we can do here? Look around, sir. Are you some sort of homeless lunatic? The little foreigners are going to come and they're going to be able to do it. Well, how much they make over there? About 2 cents a day. How much do you union workers make? Oh, well, not 2 cents a day. They make 2 cents a day? 2 cents a week. Oh, in some countries, 2 cents a year. They're gonna dump their shit all over the northeastern United States. Y'all be put out of business by the Notnilc. By the what? What did you say? Notnilc. Notnilc. Oh, I'm from the future. You wouldn't quite understand that yet. Wait till all your factories close and you're homeless and you're trying to get some sort of payments from the government. Then you'll come back and ask me what Notnilc is. The general area that I'm talking about outside Philadelphia, it's probably just about 45 minutes from where I am here in the Exton area, is where they filmed this horrible, wretched mayor of Easttown. Did you watch this? What was her name? Kate Winslet from Titanic, trying to do some sort of southeastern / Philadelphia accent. It was even Saturday Night Live made fun of it. This must have been her humiliation. Guys, life is pretty depressing for us on many days. Sometimes because we can see through reality. We get up in the morning and say, I just want to go right back into bed and pull the covers up over my head. Well, you want to be really depressed. Watch this HBO show, The Mayor of Easttown. I got through 3 episodes. I can't take it anymore. This must be her humiliation. And even Saturday Night Live made fun of the accents. This Kate Winslet, is she from the UK, right? She did the Titanic, and the high British accent with a touch of sandwich. She's trying to do the southeastern Pennsylvania. Just let's you and I do it now. It's not Pennsylvania. Do it with me now. It's Pennsylvania. Pensa, Savania, Pennsylvania. You can learn what she should have learned, what Kate Winslet should have learned. We can learn it together now. Southeastern Pennsylvania. And we say, give me a drink of water. Wooder. Water. You don't ever say water anyway. So she couldn't do it, and they made fun on Saturday Night Live. They said she murdered my daughter, and the accent was she murdered me daughter. She murdered me daughter. Now that I can't. The Philadelphia accents are harder than any other accents almost anywhere in the world to get exactly right. And they're regionally. Cherry Hill and South Jersey is very different from this accent. Anyway. It's a horrible, wretched series, and it must have been, Kate, it must have been your humiliation to have to do it after something that put you into the stratosphere. Hollywood royalty in Titanic, and then they made you do this. And mare means a horse. It means a horse, the horse of Easttown. Oh, God. Sorry, let me not stray too much from what we were talking about in the main points. Again, myself, Greg, we're thrilled we are the age we are, because we have a firm planting in what the old reality, the old century and millennia was like. My grandfather's era was the last era, or the one true era, of working for one or two employers, for many cases one employer, your entire life, getting that retirement dinner with the watch, that full pension. Wasn't much, but it was, the house was been paid for a long time. It slowly appreciated. They could live comfortably. 1-2 week vacation a year down to Ocean City, New Jersey. My grandfather never stayed the full length of the vacation, was very much like me, just wanted to come home. My father said that they had 2 weeks in Ocean City. It would be about 8 or 9 days, and they'd say, I want to go home. And he wanted to go home to his own bed. That is me. But in my era of entering the corporate world, it had begun, it had been going on for 10 years, the era of job jumping. I didn't want to move to another just to get a raise and to get a little more money, go to this company and then that company. But all my friends were doing it. And some jumped around so successfully that as young kids, we were 26, 27 years old. They're making, $100,000. They work for this big corporation and go over here and do computer programming for a big conglomerate like Siemens. And then they jump over here. And it wasn't palatable to me. But I thought, why should I be doing that? I get to know the people here at the insurance company, and I was getting promoted. They sent me out to Los Angeles, but the jumping just didn't. I just went start over again with new people, and that wasn't me. I like my own comfortable bed. But my friends were doing it, and it had been going on for. It wasn't my era. It had been going on for 15 years. The job jumping and they had eliminated the pensions, and it was all 401k investments, and the company give you a 25-cent match. Thanks a lot. You give me 25-cent. Oh my God, I'll take the job. 25-cent match, but I can make an investment where I can put it all in Enron stock like the Enron employees did. It all goes to nothing. You've matched my 25 cents, my dollar investment with 25 cents, so it's $1.25 in Enron stock. It all goes to nothing. Do I get at least your 25 cents back if I go bankrupt with Enron stock? I get nothing. Oh, I see. Thanks a lot. I get nothing. So there's no pension. It was called a defined benefit pension plans, and with defined contribution, if you ever test on this, like all the stupid insurance tests I've taken over the years, defined benefit or defined contribution. That's the 401k where you invest it yourself, and then you could lose it all. Like the Enron told the employees, you really want to go into the Enron stock. They had to by law offer balanced funds through Vanguard or Fidelity funds or whatever, but they pushed the employees to put it all into Enron stock. I'm sorry, guys, if we don't laugh at this, we'll cry at this. Of course, thousands and tens of thousands were just destroyed. Lower level people when the Enron, when they say there's nothing there. There's no power production. There's just a shell company that acts as a middleman. We should do a whole video on that Enron debacle some other time. But guys, so my era, okay, pension. Of course, we know this, but see, again, I have the 1 foot. I saw the old world. I saw what my grandfather did. I remember him working at U.S. Steel, being at my grandmother's house in Harmony Lane, Abington, Pennsylvania. See, I'm trying to do better. Pennsylvania. If I'm drinking with the boy, Pennsylvania, I can. The accent, the accent will come back if I'm. I have to put on a more intelligent persona for this sort of narrative. Abington, Pennsylvania, Harmony Lane. I remember a little office upstairs. I remember, him working then before they moved to Morgantown. And Greg and we wouldn't give it up for the world to have a. I don't mean to make the. I was going to say I don't mean to make the 35-year-olds or the 28-year-olds here envious, but are they envious of some broke? What toppings you got, old man? Are they envious of me broken down with a lung clot? I'm not envious of your ass, Matt. Are you kidding me? Well, I hear you, but I've seen the old world. It's something to be proud of in your 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. Those listening to me. The ability to compare, that is an incredible. I don't know what to call it, but it allows us to truly see through the breakdown of this reality because we have a comparison point that's very fresh in our minds. I think I mentioned this movie earlier in this video, Jack Nicholson in About Schmidt. It's very old. I remember it being good but depressing. And the reason I'm mentioning it now, if you're under age 35, and I'm always using that age as the demarcation line, but it's funny, Matt, you used if you're under age 35 7 or 8 years ago in your presentation. So shouldn't you be using under age 42? I don't know. It just keeps coming back to that. Maybe it's like a fake reality giveaway, like the 33 number. But if you're under age 35, this gives you a glimpse of something you just don't understand, the old business world. And one of the things I remember about this and how depressing it is when they put him out to pasture, and he's going to go to retirement. I don't remember if it's been so long, guys. I don't remember if they give him retirement dinner or the gold watch or whatever it is. But he knows certain files. He knows the history of the company. And the younger employees, what I remember the most is, hey, do you want me to come back in a week and help you with these files? And they all just blow him off as an old man. No, we're fine. He wants to come back a few times and help out. He wants the younger people in the company to appreciate his knowledge set, his experience, and even if they should just give him lip service. Oh yeah, I don't know, Schmidt. His name, I don't know if his first name is Schmidt or his last name. Come back, Schmidt. We really need your help next week in transitioning these files. And of course they blow him off. No, we're good. You go enjoy your retirement. You don't want to come back here. Of course, he desperately wants to come back and show and feel important again. He's just blown off and put out to pasture. And it is, it's the way, who knows what they do now, because people jump around jobs and they come and go and leave their work so much. It's not the same as it was. But back This would have been my grandfather, whoever a young 35 or 40-year-old, to him, kid taking over the Cyclone Fence division. And he'd say, hey, I can come back next week and go over all the files with you. Just, we could have some lunch, even though it's after my retirement dinner. And in 95% of the cases, instead of the 5% of younger workers realizing that the older worker needs this desperately, needs to feel at least a few, last gasp of importance, 95% of the time, no, we're good. You go enjoy your retirement, old man. What toppings you got, old man? You gonna do toppings? Where did we do that for? That was from when it was Shake Shack Burgers. Remember, was it de Blasio? Mayor de Blasio was giving away free Shake Shack if you were to go in, and we call Rent the movie with Carl Weathers, the action Jacksonation movie, which came with a stick in the arm. If you rented that, you got free Shake Shack. What toppings you got, old man? And that's all they would say to Jack Nicholson, the younger generation. Well, we don't need you to come. Anyway, I guess I'm being repetitive. But this, if you're under a certain age, this will give you a glimpse as to a little bit about what the old business world was like. And yes, it still exists to a degree, somebody leaving. But there's just more jumping around. And I don't think I think this is more indicative of, or a glimpse into the old world versus what would occur today. One last thing, I've got to come back and add this to the end. People will just hear what they want to hear. It's strange how much this happens is a little strange to me. People will say, "You recommended the movie." Did I recommend? I did not recommend the movie. I don't think it's that great. It's a few scenes are a little weird, a little disturbing. It's dark, depressing. But people will hear in what I just did a movie recommendation. Just saying, I didn't say it was good or bad. It's probably pretty bad in many parts, but if you want a glimpse into a little bit of the old world, that's all I said. Please, if I don't do this, somebody will say, thanks a lot for recommending that movie, Matt. I can't get those 2 hours back. I never recommended the damn movie. People hear what they want. Now, the old world, the old century and millennia that this represents, my grandfather, what he went through, the old corporate life, big business, it seems, of course, to us, and how everything is broken down, it seems very superior, that we're nostalgic, we want this back. But remember, it was still Notnilc. The Notnilc didn't have the tools. It didn't have the tricks at its disposal back then. It's still Notnilc, though, because what did it do to most men? It made them build their entire identity of who they were about the job itself. And that's less today because people jump around, but it has 1,000 more nasty and dastardly tricks at its disposal today. But back then, it worked over people like my grandfather. 35 to 38 years, sometimes 40 years for some people, in the same job. And that job became their entire identity. And just like my grandfather had no idea, in my opinion, who he was or what to do with himself or how to carry himself through the last 20 to 25 years of life after the retirement dinner with the watch. And it was his whole identity. And it's so crushing for many people when they lose that. Remember, not long ago, we looked at the episode of MASH where Radar leaves. Not only did he leave the 4077, the actor left the show for some strange reason. And this is where people will show their true colors. He's still, okay, it's just corporal Radar or very low rank, but it's still in a position of power. He has the ear of the colonel. He can get things. He can get things transported in and out. He thinks everybody loves him. But when he leaves, they'll show their true colors. He'll have 3 or 4 good friends, but the other 20, 30, 40 people, it's what he could do for them. It's what he could get for them. It's a lesson everybody should learn. Every youngster should learn. You work for a big corporation or a big name. You think everybody loves you. You go out on the street in the cold. You leave that big corporation behind. You see how many friends you have. Oh, hi, Matt. Oh, you want to have lunch? No, I'm busy. And a lot of people can't take it. They can't handle it. And, hey, there's some genuine friends that are, want to stay in touch with Radar, but most people, and it shows you at the end of this MASH episode, most people like, here comes the wounded in, and Radar's, he's on his way out. He can't, but we got wounded coming in, Radar, and the world just moves on. The world somehow as valuable as you think you are in a certain job, or how as valuable as anybody thinks they are, the world will always just move on. One of the major lessons of part 2, the work, is to be so much bigger than this place that you don't need its acceptance and its accolades and its approval. And about Schmidt, he wanted to come back and help, and just to not care, I'm not saying this the right way, but just to be so above it, just to know first how people are going to act and react, and you leave that big company behind, nobody gives a shit any longer, except 2 or 3 people. Will be good people, good friends, but it's all about what that you could do for them. And you got to be prepared. You got to understand this and be so much bigger than it that you don't need these sort of scraps given back, or that somebody that has achieved what they need to achieve with part 2, the work. If they're leaving a company, they would simply accept the fact that nobody's going to care one bit about them the moment they walk out the door, because that you can't do anything for them anymore, can't help them, and to just really not care about it. To say this is the way the reality is, and what an incredible thing to witness, what an incredible lesson. But most people, my grandfather, I assure you, I mean, okay, the retirement dinner, it's all about you, and you still feel special. And the Gruen watch, the gym, again, I put that thing in my hand. It ain't heavy steel, man. It's not even steel that they make. It's like a plastic. It's a cheap, light ass thing. He should have hold the damn watch up and say, "We make steel here. At least you could have made a stainless steel band, you cheap sons of bitches." It was all about him. So retirement dinner was great. And then you can just see it, right? Shaking hands in the parking lot, and he went by a nickname Bob. Bob, will miss you, whatever. And then the next day, the phone, nobody needs you. And the next day after that, and I guess for a few weeks it's great because, you feel wonderful because nothing to do, and after hard work for 35 to almost 40 years, and but 2 weeks later, it's like, wait a second, now you better know yourself and call back in the company. Hey, you need help with this or that? No, Bob, we, enjoy your retirement. Stay away, you old bastard. Nobody needs you anymore. You better be prepared. No matter what you're involved. I mean, the people here are, of course, we would be tackling this situation much better and more easily than the people around us. But that was saying, in terms of straying away from the original point, this is what Notnilc had over people, and I'm sure my grandfather went through it. 3 or 4 weeks into the retirement, he probably got out of bed and said, "Oh shit, now what? Now what?" No plans, no hobbies. I mean, a few hobbies, but collecting some records. I'm not talking about anything like that. Something major league to go into. Here's what I want to do. I guarantee, because he very much like me, didn't have the advantages we have of all the thousands of people that have shared all this incredible information with me, and then I share it back with you. He got out of bed 3 weeks after this retirement dinner where they patted him on the back and gave him the gold watch, and he said, "Oh, shit." Now, or his subconscious was doing it. Maybe he wasn't even consciously aware, trying to fool himself that this is so great. Who knows what he went through? But this is what Notnilc did to people in the old days, the old century. Notnilc was still here, of course. And the company goes away. That's Notnilc. That's a Notnilc entity. Without the corporate identity, without the Notnilc identity, people were lost. Lost. What the heck do I do now? Where, I don't think that would happen to us. We've done so much work over the last 10 to 15 years. And what did he? Well, I'm spiritual. I'm going to take up religion. And what are all my other relatives doing? The Catholic Church. So I guess that's what I'll do too. Completely lost. And you can't wait. You can't wait until your retirement dinner to start tackling all these things. And although the old world, the picture of the box with the things, and he had a pension, it was just one company, and there was no internet and no email at night. It seems so wonderful. And there's many aspects of the old world that were just far superior to what we have today. But I'll tell you what, when you leave that corporate identity, at least as a man, I mean, I should clarify, of course, Matt, it's your responsibility to point out that after a certain level of middle management, it was 95% men in U.S. Steel. Yeah, it was. Okay, I'm not here to address that right now. Okay, let's just, Women had their own issues, and the Notnilc worked them over. You think the Notnilc left women alone? Of course, I'm talking about. It's my grandfather's things on the table. I'm talking about the men, the experience of men in big corporations in the old century, or at least midway through the old century. Right? So let's forget that for now. It worked over women, I'm sure, in a variety of different ways. But it's Notnilc has always been here. It has always been here. And we complain about these platforms, but we in so many ways, in terms of the information we've shared, we have tremendous advantages over someone like my grandfather or people that were just going through the motions in terms of what they were supposed to do, living out their lives in the last century. So we cut up certain platforms or whatever. We wouldn't go back. I can't speak for you, but Greg, myself, many of you, we would not go back, as broken as this reality is, in complete meltdown mode, and as horrible as things goes. And 1 out of 10 families that have a kid in elementary school, the kid doesn't even know what restroom to use. And I mean, but we, at least a tiny little group, rowing away in our lifeboat, rowing away from the ship of fools, we wouldn't go back. You cannot, like the going into the Matrix, that's a bad example, because Morpheus on the Nebuchadnezzar, that was just another layer of the illusion. That was just another layer inside the Matrix, but assume it was real. There is no going back, but we wouldn't want to go back, because it's about, doing the work. And, it's about things that are much larger than this little place. So this is Notnilc blocking and tackling 101. My grandfather, on the day of his retirement dinner, did he say, I'm thousands of times larger than this place and it's just here for a reason? No, it had worked him over for 40 years. It got him so close to the reality. His entire identity was attached to it. That goes back to the Jacob Marley chains and the Scrooge and everything, it just taught people our whole being is about this place. It did it in the old century through the corporate life and the job and the pension. Now it does it in a variety of different ways, getting the likes and the thumbs up. It's all about trying to bring people closer to this reality, rule of opposites. Because it's doing this a million times a second, then we know 100% what we need to do. Move away from it, expand our perceptions out. Remind ourselves 10 times a day, we're thousands of times larger than this. It will give you the answer. Just look at what it does, and the truth is the opposite of that every single time. Thanks for listening.